Bye bye bye
Cool.
bye 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 bye
Bye bye bye bye bye. Hello, Jody Raynsford.
Hello, David Hellard. Why did that take you by surprise?
No, I was. I guess because I normally am recording, so I normally lead the intro, and
Oh
then because you're
yes,
recording,
yeah. Oh, I'm in charge of the
yes.
button.
So the harmonies might be slightly different pitches this time for that
I
intro.
think harmony. I think harmony is very generous.
I'm thinking Bone Thugs and Harmony. That's what I'm thinking. But
meet you at the crossroads.
But how are you, sir? How are you, Jody Raynsford?
I'm all right,
David. Welcome to
Hellard.
Bad Boy Running listeners as well. All that stuff.
Welcome to Bad Boy Running. I'm very good, thank you. And I hope you are well too. Are you well? Are you running? How are your legs? How is your pelvis?
I mean,
oh no! I thought we were going to go into this really positively.
No,
you slump backwards and you go, well,
not injury. Weirdly, I've just as most people know, I've been away for 3 weeks, and then we came back, and it just seems the world doesn't want me to be able. Do you know when everything is a battle, where you turn up and of course all the Boris bikes are broken, or you make a tea and of course you spill the tea. Literally, it feels like the whole world is trying to stop me being able to be what I like about this is
the sense of perspective here of everything that's going on in the world. It's like the Boris bikes aren't working.
When will people understand my pain? No, there's just so Briggsy knows me well enough now that there are some things that absolutely infuriate me. Some of them are
like what? Go on.
App design, just inefficiencies in administration really anger me. Where if you're going onto a website and it forces you to choose from a drop-down list a telephone number, rather than allowing you to write 44, or you need to just any small things like that just delay time, or don't allow you to autofill when there's loads of questions and you're like, the most accurate way to put my address in is to autofill. If I type it, I'll probably misspell it. But we've moved into a house which took 10 days longer than we're expecting. Every day we moved because we moved out of our flat, having had like 4 or 5 day delay. They had to move in. We then moved our stuff into the house, but we weren't allowed in the house until it completed. And then this crazy system over here, every day they kept on finding new things that they couldn't have in any way anticipated would have gone wrong, that meant we couldn't move into a house. So every day on the Friday, I went to the house to complete. I picked up the keys because I need my passport. I've forgotten that. It's hard to send a lot of money, it seems, in the UK. And then I had to return the keys to the estate agent and then get on a train to Mama B's for the weekend because we hadn't completed the house. Monday, we didn't complete. Tuesday, we didn't complete. So every single day was another day where they came up with a new reason why we weren't allowed into the house, which our stuff was in. So we were living out of a bag.
What type of reasons?
That the land registry had. This is a thing. These are things that they kept on telling me the reasons. I'm like, you can explain them to me, but it doesn't help me understand why I shouldn't be furious with you. So land registry would have 2 mortgages. They call it rates. They had 2 mortgages on there from the seller for some reason. So if we then they switched the mortgage to ours, there'd be another one on there or something like that, so it wouldn't work. And their solicitor wouldn't believe our solicitor that there were 2 on there. And so we were waiting on their solicitor to come up with enough belief to then log in to then check.
Well, the thing is,
how is this taking days?
The thing is, the solicitors, they never pick up a phone, do they? Like, no one ever picks up a phone in the legal world. You're like, you could just use email, use a phone. Like, they just won't do it.
And you know when you're trying to be polite, yeah, it's weird. But they had a team of people that
I don't.
Yeah. Well, I start project managing their team and being like, okay, so when are they getting back to you? Okay, when have we spoken to them? Okay, when are we next speaking to them? And just actually making them do what they should do. But yeah, I was so angry by the end of it, and I was dealing with people who, some of them wasn't their fault, and I really struggle with that, with call centers, with individuals where you're so furious at what their organization is doing, and you don't want to completely shit on someone because it's not their fault, but you need this anger to go somewhere, and also you want them to know like just how ridiculous this is. So then the internet, you've got to, when you get internet, it takes 2 weeks for them to send an engineer. And at the moment, because of the way the system works in the UK, there's, oh my God, this privatization of landlines, insane. So now the Vodafone, who I'm working with, who have been absolutely terrible, they'll tell me that they'll take up to 72 hours to get back to me with an update of what the update is. And you're like, well, I've already had 2 engineers come round. Yesterday I had an engineer come round apparently, and no one had told me they were coming round. And it's because all these companies have to go to BT,
yeah.
Yeah. And so they can't actually do anything other than raise a ticket. And you can't speak to the raising the ticket team. So you're speaking to someone who then speaks to the raise a ticket team, but then so that's
it's
happening.
weird. It's bizarre, isn't it? It's like literally like the whole of any kind of broadband thing is just like BT Openreach are going, yeah, we're the gatekeepers and you can't do anything without us.
Yeah.
Like,
And there's no way of contacting them. And then add on to that, so it's a bit ranty start. Add on to that, now in Australia, Amazon, I can't sell my product because someone is selling my product illegally for 4 times the price, and Amazon won't let me sell my product at the price it's always been, at the price it is in every other country, at the price it is in the chocolate orange flavor, because it's too low, the price I'm selling it at, in comparison to other sellers. And these sellers are illegal resellers. And so therefore, the system won't allow me to sell at the price it's meant to be. So
wow.
I can either increase my price times 4 and sell my product again, or nothing. That's it.
So what are you going to do?
Well,
huge profits in Australia. Thank you very much, prison colony.
Well, the trouble is, if you buy something that you think is very good, if you've paid 4 times the amount for it, you no longer think it's very good because it needs to be bloody magic, right?
Yeah.
So actually what I have to do is one by one, I have to go through the 11 resellers who are clearly just bots or something, and have them all individually kicked off the system for not having the right, not having permission, which I assume will take weeks and months. But during that time, because I've got this stock that's just sat there unsellable, that means they've reduced the amount of stock I'm allowed to have in the warehouse, and that's going to be returned within 30 days. And so not only will I lose money on that, I'll then have less space in the warehouse for other stock.
Oh my God.
And I'll then have to reship in 30 days all this product, having paid for it 3 ways, and it costs a huge amount to Central Australia. So it's just small things like that where it's weird how I honestly thought technology was going to solve problems and make things.
But it's true, isn't it? It's like it's always the go-between. It's always the middleman, isn't it, that causes this issue. That you can't. You're not selling direct to consumer. You're having to go through Amazon, and you're having to go through their thing. You can't personally force someone to get an engineer out because they're going through a middleman as well. So that's where everything falls down.
But also it's because there's when they build technology has to follow rules, and rules don't have nuance, and no one's good enough to think of every eventuality. And so you end up getting, it's the computer says no. So I'm at the moment, and came in the office, there's no internet here, there's still no internet at home, there's no Wi-Fi at home. So this is why we've not been scheduling interviews, because I don't know when I'll ever have internet. And and so, but I've started running again because I finally got my insoles, and I'm running into work.
Oh, how are your insoles?
They are huge.
You got a club foot.
Feet. So now my shoes are incredibly tight, so I'm gonna have to buy new shoes, I assume, for that. But I'm running.
You have to buy shoes. What?
Well, maybe That's a good point. I'll have to reach out to the Salomon team and say, look,
I'll have to buy.
unless you want me wearing.
Have you seen those Greg's? Is it Greg's? Those Greg's trainers?
Are they Greg's trainers?
Yeah. I was like, saw this and thought of you.
How does that even work? Greg sells sausage rolls. They don't sell clothes. At least with Lidl.
But I tell you what, you can see the crossover, can't you? You can totally see the crossover.
Greg's Primark. So they're sold. They're really nice. But the reality is, I don't need or want to be buying new stuff. We've just moved house, and you realise. Well, Briggsy's been away on a ski trip, and I've done the washing of everything we own to try and kill moths, which is about 15 loads of washing and drying. So yeah, I know how much we have. We do not need to buy more. But how is your running? How is your running? I'm still trying to find out if we can do Ibiza Marathon. I'm still waiting on you.
Oh no! Well, no, we can't. No, we can't.
Oh.
We can't. There's no way I'm gonna be able to run a marathon, especially not run a marathon in like 2 weeks or something.
Well, this is how much. Yeah, this is my frustration of being like, can we go? Can I book?
No, I just because I keep thinking. All right, maybe actually I can make it. Maybe I can make it, but it's still my breathing and my chest is still preventing me from sort of running more than 10 minutes without stopping. And I don't know. I was talking to Ali about this.
Yeah,
I've talked to various other people about it as well. We've actually had a few
for COVID. So, no, I heard you. Yeah, I've listened to most of that episode already. So yeah, the COVID lag.
Yeah, it's got to be COVID that's caused it, because my breathing wasn't like that before. It certainly wasn't like that at all. It's never been like that. Like I said to Ali, that when I know how it feels when you're training and you're getting rid of all of the you're finding your aerobic ability again, and everything starts functioning, and you have to push past that, and that's the reason why people kind of give up running after a few weeks if they don't know that. It feels terrible before it feels better, and so I know how that feels, and this doesn't feel like that. This feels like which is okay. I mean, like, the other thing that was interesting is that I've been trying to get life insurance, and which is incredibly difficult. It's like it
has Libby been kind of suggesting?
She is suggesting it pretty much.
She's been driving this
every other day,
sharpening lives around
every other day. It's been suggested about, but life insurance is one of those things where it's so complicated. You ask people, you go online, and you still have no idea. And so I spoke to Tom, which is the name of a life insurance company, and they kind of simplify it a lot more. They make you go through this little thing where you say how much money you need and stuff like that, but then they go, oh, do you need 5-year term or 20-year term and all this kind of stuff, and you're like, I don't know, like, none of that makes any sense to me. And so they have,
because you kind of need it till death, don't you?
Well, it doesn't. I don't think it works like that. Nowhere can I see an explanation around it, because everyone always wants to get you on the phone, and then you get on the phone to them, and they go through the most ridiculous set of questions, how much are you going to need, all this other stuff. Do you need to pay this off? Do you need to pay off? And then you think all the things you need to pay off, and it comes to like fucking £20 million or something you need, and then and then they're asking you like these questions, like, have your parents? Either of your parents had high blood pressure before 40? You're like, how the fuck do I know that? Like, how am I supposed to know that information? Like, and everything goes fine until you tell them you've got gout, at which point they go, oh, okay.
Does gout cause death a lot?
Well, gout is a there's a load of things associated with gout, which goes to high cholesterol, because normally high cholesterol leads to gout, and so if you if there's some element of diabetes or high cholesterol, it has an impact on it. And I was like, we go through this whole thing, I'm like, you haven't asked me whether I exercise at all. Like surely that would be an important factor. And it goes, oh, it's not on the form. And it never has
You
been.
haven't asked me if I'm vegan yet.
Yeah, well, no, exactly. Well, that was the next one. I said, like, but surely, like, if I tell you I'm vegan and I don't eat meat and stuff like that, that's another. He goes, yeah, it's not another thing. The thing that made me I thought was interesting, he goes, oh, have you had gout in the last 12 months? And I'm like, oh god, yeah, no, it hasn't. It's more than 12 months. And I remembered, and I was like, oh, can I take the gout? Can I take the gout answer back, please?
Get the gout out.
Can I just take the gout thing? I haven't had gout in that amount of time, which is great. But yeah, it's just the bizarre questions that they ask you, and then they can never come up. They go, oh, we're really struggling to find a like an insurer, a broker who's going to, like, I'm sure that I'm not like the illest person in the world. Like, I don't understand why life insurance is so hard for me. Like, surely everyone has life insurance.
Were you sweating under the pressure of it? They could see the beads going down your. And they're like, this is not a good sign.
When I say things, have you smoked a nicotine product in the last 12 months? And you're like, 12 months. I don't know, like, and then they're asking like lots of little questions like that. I've like, how many?
You've been deleting from your Facebook all these pictures of you having a cigar at a wedding.
The thing is, I said to him, like, I studied insurance law at university, and I know exactly what insurance companies are like. And I know, you always see these things. It's exactly that thing, isn't it? Like, someone's life insurance didn't pay out because the brokers, they trawled someone's Facebook page and they found them on a stag weekend with a cigarette in their hand, and then that's mainly American like life insurance and things like that. So you have to be like super like shit hot and honest about everything. And then because I said like, yeah, and I've got non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, which is a either a side effect or something related to the fact that I had the gout. And so it was like, oh, liver disease. I'm like, no, it's not liver disease. It's non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Oh, God.
And it doesn't sound like a good disease.
It sounds terrible. I get going, it sounds terrible, but the doctor doesn't seem to give a shit about it. It seems to be completely normal, and I can get rid of it relatively easily if I just kind of follow this thing. And so it's not an issue. I might not even have it anymore, but I've not been able to go back to the doctor and check and stuff like that. But the more stuff you layer in there, trying to be honest, they're just like, oh no, this is just like, there you go. And then they call back and they like, it was taking so long. Actually, I said, I actually have to go. I can't carry on speaking anymore. He goes, oh, I'll make sure you call back. And then even someone with a commission just sort of, he kind of gives up and goes, yeah, I can't. I've given this to someone else to do because we're really struggling to get you cover. I'm like, really? You're really struggling to get me cover? I can't believe that.
Although I guess so any anomaly, because Briggsy works in insurance, and she'll do life insurance and kind of. I don't think she does car, and so she'll know about things like this because she does the statistical modelling.
Yeah.
She's the person who decides, who negotiates. She creates the data that they negotiate the prices on, and so. If you're a smoker, it's not that is maybe lower risk than your non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. It's that there's a huge number of people who are also that, and so they can price it accurately because they've got the data. As soon as you've got something that people are just risk averse, they just don't want some big payout, is what they fear. And so if it's something they've not heard of that's not on their charts, which it probably won't be, then that's when you're screwed. And that's probably why, because people just don't want to take that risk. They'd rather be like, it's easier not to. And also, as soon as you're a small number of people, it could just be that one person died really young related to something that is incredibly improbable, but there's only 6 of you. Suddenly, was it 15% of you die of it? And so it's like, wow, this is a massive risk. Whereas if there's a million of you, those oddities get smoothed out. So, so you've got to wait until you get back to the doctor then.
Well, that's the thing, because I kept saying, all right, so like my BMI is because they were like, oh, what's your height, what's your weight and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, so this is interesting. So so next time I speak to someone in insurance, okay, I need to make sure that I get my BMI reduced below a certain level. Okay, yes. so I do it there, and then just lots of like little questions where I think,
wear heels. That's why women's life insurance is a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense at all.
So yeah, but it's interesting, isn't it? Like with health insurance, it's a bit different, isn't it? Because when you get health insurance, like there are loads of incentives for, you know, I think like with Vitality, like if you can check in every 3 months and do a test, and if it proves that you've not smoked, it like either reduces your premiums or keeps them lower, you know. And they obviously, you have if you clock in like for I think park runs, as many park runs or something, then it keeps it lower. So there's lots of ways of kind of proving.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know if they still do it, but they certainly used to do it when I had Vitality health insurance. But yeah, and so it was like really clever. So you just like it's a similar thing of, you know, putting a box in your car to show that you're not an absolute fucking maniac. Do
you think someone's got a business where they fake park runners?
I mean,
for
that's
people
good,
that can't be
isn't it?
asked to get up, because no one's really checking, right?
No, that would be good. What I'd like the idea
Yeah.
is that everyone's insurance premiums went up during the pandemic because Parkrun wasn't on. Vitality is sat there going, let's keep opposing the Parkrun applications at each council.
Yeah, they're probably the people giving out free dog harnesses to Canicross to try and cause uproar and bring down the chances, increase the chances of it.
Yeah, because they did things like, and I think other companies do it. I just know the Vitality one, but it sounds like we're sponsored by Vitality, but I would never use them again because they were shit. So we're not. But they did things like, you know, when you join, you got a free Apple Watch and stuff like that. And so there would all be stuff to kind of try and encourage you to do those things. And you think, well, that's weird, isn't it? Like, why can't you tie life insurance into health insurance? You say, like, okay, if you had health insurance after this amount of time and you can see that you've done that, like, why wouldn't the life insurance? But it seems to be something completely different, and no one really explains it very well.
Yeah, well, there's got to be a broker out there do better. Who couldn't give Jody? Can someone price up Jody?
We need a dodgy. We need
just off these conversations.
A dodgy broker. That's what we need.
You need a dodgy broker. That is true.
Preferably someone that's not listened to the podcast for the last 7 years as well.
I mean, Breezy knows a few of those for sure.
I suppose that's the issue, isn't it? We've talked about it on the podcast. I have evidence of my medical history going back at least 7 years, and so that must be an issue.
Did you tell them though that you can eat burnt meat and it's fine?
I can detoxify burnt meat in my liver. That's
you should make sure you get that in there.
I need to make sure I do that. I need a T-shirt with that on it. What have you been up to then? What have you been up to, my friend?
I'm in the middle of trying to prepare for Dragon's Den, so getting the website ready, getting the interns to emails. But I've been noting down a few things to update.
Oh, go on.
Update people on.
I like the way you just sort of like, you kind of drifted over the Dragon's Den thing. Dragon's Den. Just quickly, when is it? It's been brought forward, isn't it? It's been brought forward
7th of April, which is not good for me because yes, we thought we had 2 more weeks. So 7th of April the moment.
Okay.
Yes. And if there are any journalists out there who want to do a piece on it, get in touch, because as long as we time it right, I am here to sell myself. But what have we got? What's in the news? So you obviously saw the Barclays, I assume?
Yes. Yep. I mean, it was impossible not to. I mean, people were going fucking mental about it. So yes, whether I wanted it or not, I saw it.
Yeah, Jasmine did the fun run, which it's not been a while. It's been 9 years or so, 10 years since someone's done that as a female. And given the way the Barclays is, it gets harder every time someone finishes it. So it's getting harder and harder. It was interesting seeing John
Kelly.
Yeah. I knew it was John Kelly. But
no. I was just saying for the listener.
Oh, sorry. It's interesting to see John Kelly. Yeah.
It's not a difficult name to remember, Kelly. I don't think we can fuck that one up. He was very relaxed. He was very relaxed. It was like he was like almost shithousing in terms of like a bit of shithousery in terms of like the way he was like tweeting, and just like it was almost like mind games of just how simple it was for him. Don't you think?
Well, he knows it better than nearly everyone ever. And I wonder what his motivation is now. If it still burns in the same way, if he's training as hard. Things he's done all these big rounds, and he's done all these huge FKTs now. So actually, I'm sure he's got a little bit more experience in other things that would potentially help him. But it sounds like he just made a few mistakes this time in elements of how he was racing it. He put a message out afterwards about it, and we had the 2 Europeans leading out of the charge. And John was always slightly behind them. It looked like he was absolutely flying down the hills on the first lap. My Instagram's not letting me load his post on the internet, but he was always slightly behind the pace of the other the 2 front runners, which didn't surprise me. But given how experienced he is, I'm amazed that happened, really, because you'd think you'd stick with John as long as you could as a runner. That's right. He lost his belt. He lost his belt.
No, did he?
That simple. Yeah.
Oh wow.
So on the 3rd lap, he had his belt with all his maps in, and he couldn't find it. He was running up and down, up and down, and up and down. And then it wasn't until we got back to the top of the hill beats, Little Hell, that he found it on the middle of a gravel road. So that simple. So he did the fun run, and you'd be pretty annoyed, wouldn't you? 3 hours he lost on that. Thing is, John knows it well enough that even though he could have got another lap, he probably wasn't that excited about just being out for 12 hours to get a 4th lap. So yes, his quest to get the joint most ever.
It's weird.
I think it is.
Like, the thing is about Barkley, it's still completely incomprehensible as to how laps take that long. It's just I can't, like, I don't think anyone until they've done it can. And people have come on here, talked about it, and can't describe it. It's just like, how the fuck does it take that long? Like, how it's so incomprehensible.
Yeah.
How that race works from if you've not run it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think we ever will. So we'll never know. But and any listener who's not listened to the previous ones where I think spoken to Lads 3 times, we've spoken to John Kelly about it, we've spoken to Nikki Spinks about it, we've spoken to Jasmine about it, and like all these things. There's plenty of information out there, but it's just that experience, isn't it? But all I can think is you're running through a dense wood with no idea of direction, unable to properly run, going up and down massive hills constantly. It was all I can figure. But now Camille is coming to the UK. So not only is Camille back, we found that out recently. She broke her own records. She's coming over to do a Centurion race, which I think is super exciting.
Which one?
It is the good question. I never write enough notes. I can't remember if it's the track 100.
The track 100 would seem the one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's enough out there for her to. Yeah, track 100.
Yeah.
Which is going to be great because I want to know her feedback on what our track 100s are like compared to American track 100s, because I am pretty sure they're gonna. I think there will be far less whooping, far less like properly nice food, and it will just seem a bit more drab.
Well, isn't that just the UK compared with America generally?
It is. It is
less whooping and a bit more drab.
Yes, true.
It's like whenever you go to like a business event and stuff like that in America as compared to a business event in the UK, there couldn't be like starker contrasts between.
Well, given what you do, you're the guy who normally would run onto a hyped up. In America, you'd run onto a room as if you're like the quarterback, and there'd be lights, there'd be flashing. Whereas I guess in the UK, you don't quite get that experience.
In the UK, when you go to it, it's like the start of a stand-up routine, isn't it? Everyone's kind of like, impress me. Like, I don't think that's it. You've got to impress me, and you've got like 7 seconds to do it. Whereas in America, I think you start from the perspective of like, everyone is there supporting you. Everyone wants you to do well. Everyone wants you to, they just can't wait to hear what you say, and they're absolutely sure. Like, I remember I went to an event, and it was an event in San Diego, marketing event, and this designer came with us, and he just created some leaflets. And he showed us these leaflets, and we were like, why the fuck have you bought leaflets? Like, what a fucking weird thing to do. Like, who are you going to give these leaflets to? And we met this American guy, and we were talking to him, and this American guy took this guy's leaflets, and he's like, oh my God, these are incredible. The design is incredible. I absolutely love it. So that, we were just looking at each other going, yeah, that wasn't our response when he showed us those leaflets. And it's just totally different.
But I've been to, so I went to, I think his name was Chris Harrington. I just remember that name. It's definitely Harrington, and he is
Andy Harrington.
Andy Harrington.
Speaker. Oh, the Speaker Academy.
So I went to one of his events when it would have been 2003, 2004 or so, because it was a free event in a local hotel with like a life-changing thing.
Pitch fest.
Yes. Yeah. And
run to the back of the room thing.
Yeah, and I just wanted to go because I'd done my door-to-door sales stuff.
Yeah.
I was really intrigued to know, like, what do they do? Like, how do they? I wanted to just experience it. It was almost as if I was shortcutting Louis Theroux going to one and saying, this is what happens. I just wanted to experience it myself. Yeah. So I went along with my then girlfriend, Emma, and I loved it. The contrast between these speakers who are trying to copy American speakers with a deeply skeptical audience who are like, I've had to be 20 minutes on a bus to get to this free event. It better be bloody good.
Yeah.
And trying to, like, in America, you're trying to convince them of you can help them and you're worth buying into. And almost they're worth believing. In England, you're trying to convince people not to be British.
You are. Everything about it is trying to absolutely change that atmosphere. The thing is about those rooms is you go into those rooms and they have to create an entire, there's always got a force field around it, and they have to create an entirely different environment.
And it's totally like an empty conference center that's huge.
Yeah, exactly. And there's always like too few people, too many. There's always like, and when it's going badly, the sales staff outnumber the amount of people there. Yeah. And it's really bad. I've done so many of those because just because of the nature when I was doing more direct response copy, kind of working in that kind of area. And so I used to go to loads of those. And there was one which whenever you, right, so if you've never been to like these kind of pitch, they're like business events that are free in London. If they're business events that are free in London, and they're like 2 days, and they give you an iPad and then you've got a chance to win an iPad if you come back for the second day, then there's like alarm bells should be ringing. But and they kind of work with, they do a little bit of like intro stuff like that, and then everyone is selling something for like £1,997 or a kind of around that amount of money. That was discounted from 15 grand or something like that. It's always the same. It's always the same kind of offer, always the same kind of thing. But when you go to those things, always make sure you either sit right at the back or you sit right at the front, because there's always someone who all of these things they always talk about taking action. You've got to take action, and they build up this thing about there's no point in being in this room unless you take action. And there'll always be a speaker who holds up a £10 note or a £50 note or something like that and go, if you want something, you've got to come and grab it. You've got to just take it. And they'll be holding this up, and everyone's being very British and going, like, what's this awkward silence, kind of thing. And what he wants you to do, he wants someone to walk up and take that money out of his hand. So make sure that you recognize that and you go to that event and you sit right at the front, because
it's probably the same person each time as well.
Exactly.
Right?
I know, just keep going back to the same
your calendar around them.
But there was one with a similar thing where I gave away a bunch of my books, engagement formula books, and I gave him like 20 books to give to people. And he was doing a talk, and he was basically saying, it's all about it's all about taking what's in front of you. You can't wait for someone else to give it to you. You've got to take it. And they had this pile of books at the back of the room, and this was a big kind of quite a big sort of ballroom type thing. There must have been like 200 people in there. This thing at the back goes, and I've got this book, and this book is going to show you how to write copy and do these things and make sure that you can sell things through writing. It's incredibly powerful. What you'll learn in there will give you thousands, if not tens of thousands worth of thing. And I've got 20 to give away free. And people start sitting there, and it goes, yeah, and they're at the table at the back. And he just kind of left it. And then all of a sudden, this fucking stampede of people, like absolute animals. And I was standing at the back with this thing, and they bundled into this book. They knocked this old boy off his chair while doing it, like literally elbowed an old man who was on a Zimmer frame, like out of the way. And they were scrapping over these like 20 books, like trying to tear them off each other. And it was just, the psychology of it. And then afterwards, like everyone kind of like realized how kind of embarrassing it was. When sat back down again, this guy goes to me, "What's the book about again?" But you literally elbowed an old man out of the way and like fought some old lady to get this book, and you don't even know what the bloody book's about. Like, what? Why? It's incredible. Like, all using the psychology, but yeah, they do that thing. Like, I do think it's a massive fucking shock for people for Americans when they come to the UK and they try and do the same presentation that works in America but doesn't work so much in the UK.
Yeah, and I think it's just gonna be great to have Camille on home soil doing her thing, and there's gonna be a few guys, right? There's always some bloke who wants to beat her, there'll be someone who's running exactly at her pace or trying to become friends on the way around, something like that.
Trying to become friends. I always think it's really interesting, isn't it? Like when you see people interact with people that they really admire, they don't know how to do it. They just don't know how to do it. They're like, I want to show you how much I admire you, but the only way I can do it is coming across as really fucking creepy. And just kind of staring at you intently. And I've never felt like that about anyone in terms of how like I deeply feel. And I can understand, people do feel that deeply, but it's like we need to give a protocol to people. Like if you really admire someone, this is the way to act with them rather than the weird creepiness type thing. And you just want to send like, maybe kind of crowding them and doing all that isn't the way to show your appreciation for them, that there might be other ways of doing it, but take your shot, whatever.
Yeah. Now, other things that have been happening, what do you think of all these runs for solidarity for Ukraine? I find it really odd. So, for example, I
don't want to go down the route of that we went down before. I mean, it's brilliant in the sense that I completely agree with the cause. But
I've seen all these run clubs who are like, today we're running for peace. And I get it when I think it makes sense if you're running to show that racism isn't acceptable, or that we believe in diversity, or we think trans people have a right in society, those type of things, because actually the showing of this view reminds people that they've got allies, that society does support them broadly. But when it's a war, I don't get what the purpose is, other than
is there a fundraising aspect to it, or is it just
most of them haven't been fun. Well, actually, I'm sure there are some, but a lot of them just been, we're running for peace. We're running to show Russia this isn't okay.
I do think most of the time it's a grasp at some kind of control, because it's like if you looked at it objectively, like what is you see loads of protests around around the world, around Europe, for peace, and you're like, well, I mean it's not going to do anything. But it is all kind of in solidarity. It's like, it's just, I think people trying to grasp on the helplessness of it and trying to do something that they feel that they can do because they can't do anything. and I think that's the only thing that drives it. It's
and do you think it's
because who is for war? I mean, I don't. It's like
Dick Cheney.
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
and do you think there's an element of, because of Instagram and people truly now think that they're the center of the world a bit
People think
more,
they matter.
and yeah, that actually, I know. Hey, do you think there is an element that people do think that they're having an impact by doing it, or do you think it is just I don't know what else to do, this makes me feel a bit better?
I don't know. Wait, so as soon as you bring in Instagram, that's a different story, isn't it? Like,
Well, this is what I've been
I know
seeing.
what you're getting at with this. Yeah,
I've been seeing branded, like I've written down the name of the club that is a product based club, and being like, don't say the name, but they're doing this, and you're like, well, it's quite weird now when you're linking it to a brand that sells stuff and you're doing this thing as a. I mean, it's very. Is it then just the virtual signaling? Well, yeah.
Well, because the thing is, it is virtue signaling, because there's nothing that anyone can do about it. It's not as if you could, it's not like it. Actually, International Women's Day was a perfect example. Like, but that was a fuckload of virtue signaling going on there. Like, saying that, we do this and everything. And that brilliant gender pay gap bot that any brand that basically posted an International Women's Day thing, it automatically posted what the gender pay gap was in their organization.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. Like, and that's it. And so it's kind of like, so you can do something like with that kind of virtue signaling, you can do something about it. Like, that's the thing. It's virtue signaling because you're not actually taking real action. You're doing something like, with the Ukraine thing, I think it's just like, what action can you take? You can donate, you can send aid, but these are all things to kind of support, but they're not going to, this is a political thing. But I certainly do think that, I don't know, I feel like it's, people have jumped on this less than, say, Black Lives Matter. I think people are much more attuned, because when you remember when
it's immediate though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But Black Lives Matter, there was a period, wasn't there, where everyone was putting like the black squares on their Instagram and stuff like that, and that felt, a lot of that felt like, well, a lot of people came into criticism for virtue signaling and
well, I think virtue signaling in those circumstances can be a good thing, because but
I think it's for me, it seems it's a lot less in terms of people are much more aware of it just being trite. And I think it's my LinkedIn is filled with people talking about leadership and banging on about Zelensky and stuff like that. You're just like, oh, I mean, you can post whatever you want, of course, it's like you can post whatever you want, but you're like, fucking hell, like, it just, like, what are you doing? Like, yes, right, this is what a real leader looks like. And then people using it people using it to talk about fucking Brexit. Like, fucking hell, like, how have you brought this back to Brexit? Or even in those early days of it happening, talking about fucking climate change. You're like, God.
So are you seeing things like how to manage your company like a former comedian prime minister in a hole in a war?
What
is that the kind of learnings from?
Well, I don't know. That's the thing, isn't it? That's the thing. It's like, it's when people try and, like, they look at someone's background, they go, oh, he used to be a comedian, from comedian to war leader, and you're like, but that's not really his journey, is it? Like, like, being a comedian is just one aspect of what he's done. Like, it's a nice narrative, but it's not a very helpful narrative, especially when you're talking about leadership, because it doesn't, and also that's suggesting that comedians are trite and don't serve a purpose, or actually they're the most incredible social observers who have been put on. If you're thinking about someone that can perform on a stage,
communicators
on a world stage, and someone that has to really understand their message and hone their message and understand how to react and things like that, you're like, fucking hell, try and find someone better than a stand-up.
Like, if you look at Boris and Trump, they're comedians to their people, and actually, sometimes to everyone to a certain extent. So
So there's a lot of jumping on stuff, definitely. But I kind of I see where you're coming from with the there's a lot of like signaling, definitely, on Instagram. Yeah, as soon as you mention Instagram, I know exactly where you're going with it.
Now we've got some follow-ups. The first one, yeah.
Can I say I've just remembered what this follow-up might be?
Oh, you go ahead. I've got a few, but
no. Are you talking about? Well, actually, I don't know. You know, we can talk about it.
We've got the Canicross ones.
Oh yeah, that's not that one. I was thinking about Jim's dad.
Jim's dad, yes. Wow. Well, you dig out that email. Wow.
Well, I don't know. Are we allowed to read? I don't know if I don't want to read it. If
that's what I'm not sure, because I messaged back. So Jim's Walmsley's dad messaged in Harry and just wrote a really, really lovely email. And I try to think back to that interview, and actually I think we'd ribbed the dad a bit in the podcast by being like, oh, what, your dad's forcing you to play football and all this, suggesting it was like,
he was disappointed. Yeah, he was suggesting he's disappointed, even though he's become this incredible runner, but still he didn't play football. Yeah.
Right, I've emailed Jim about it and said, are you right for us to read this out? I'm waiting on Jim's response. I'm assuming he's not listening to this, so that is to follow. But we had the Canicross conversation.
Yes.
Park Run had banned Canicross runners, not dog runners, but people using the harness, and I put it in the club group by accident instead of the Bad Boy Running group. Our main question though was whether, like, do people care or not? Like, is this one of those issues that is being stirred up by a few people? Or so we had quite a few responses, actually. 50 responses were I don't care. 19 were I'm canny furious. Let us run with our dogs. 6 were I agree with the ban. It's dangerous to some and they can still run with dogs on leads. And 1 was I agree with the ban. It's not a run time. It's a Canicross time. They're different. So, I mean, I set those options. I didn't allow people to put whatever option they wanted, because I've already learned that, yes, exactly. Allowing do-badders to write anything just means you don't get anything of use back other than a display of just how disrespectful our listeners are to our polls. Yes, it is. But it was really interesting to see. The main feedback actually was I did get the sense that the people who wanted Canicross did understand it, but then there's this divide about buggy runners seem to be more of an issue than running with Canicross or running with your dog.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which I can understand, because buggies are bigger, and also you've still got competitive dad with the buggy now, don't you?
Yeah, but you can. The runner can control a buggy much easier than an owner can control a dog. And I imagine that actually you lose control when you're holding the dog by hand compared to when you have it on a Canicross thing. So yeah, that's interesting.
You see, mathematically, actually what you should have is far more dogs. And that way, the more dogs you have, they average out their unpredictable movement. And so actually it then reduces the impact of one dog being unusual in their running. So people should really be running with kind of 5 to 10 husky style. That would be the solution I'd suggest. But
I'd like to see that. What, one person with like 6 dogs?
Yes. Yeah. Especially if they're different sized dogs, that would be great. Because there'd be some that be.
Oh my god, I'm sure that's going to be like a sport of some kind in some country, like running with it.
It's probably in the summer in like Alaska or Russia, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
But yeah, people seem to be relatively understanding compared to what I was expecting to be
But
absolute fury.
do you think they're understanding because it's parkrun? Because parkrun can say whatever they want. I think parkrun should start pushing the limits of the loyalty of its audience, and just start coming up with randomly bizarre things. And because people, like, there'll always be a section that defends them, like, oh yeah, they said we all have to run with a traffic cone on our head. And if that's what they say, then I'm sure there are serious safety reasons why we have to do that, and so we shouldn't just question it. I do think that it's because it's parkrun and their word matters.
Yeah, I don't know. I think people are so protective of parkrun compared to other things.
Oh yeah.
And well, people have also pointed out that you can just run with a dog, right? And you're going to have to be a pretty brave marshal to not give someone a token because it's on a harness, but also you can just run with a dog. I mean, I was running with Chris at the weekend, and
Call him a dog.
Not with a dog. He's very shaggy. Yeah, and I've forgotten my barcode now. I don't know where it is. So you can look at your time, and actually, is it about collecting the number of runs? For some people it is, but if it's not, then you just do a barcode. So you just take your barcode, not clock in. You know your time anyway. We've all got watches. But quite a mature response, I thought, from our listener for a change.
Yeah, we need to give them more options on the polls again.
Yeah. Well, there is some discussion.
Wait a minute. You said you posted that in the running club group by mistake.
Yes, rather than
well, there are a bunch of squares in there. That's why.
Is that right?
Yeah, they are.
He's selling it well.
Yeah.
Now we've got we've had a lot of feedback here. More feedback to follow. And the other thing that I thought I'd mention was when we were discussing sports that we could become good at in Russia.
Yeah.
Russia
Pekka, wasn't it? Pekka was the choice.
Keep your Pekka up. So I then tried to find, straight after that chat, videos of Pekka. There weren't any.
None.
There were Pekkas used in other things, and then it brought up instead slap contests, which seems to be a Russian phenomena.
Oh, really?
This is, if you've got a few minutes to kill, Google slap contest knockouts, and it's exactly as it sounds. Two people stand in front of each other in front of with a lectern between them, and they one by one slap and try and either win by looking the best or win by knockout.
By knockout from a slap contest.
Yeah. And you see some of the people in there, and they have these almighty arms.
Is there any shocking mismatches? A
little bit, because they seem to do weight categories, but then they almost bring them together at the end of one of the videos I saw. So that is something to watch. And I mean, to be fair, it wouldn't make me feel more confident about taking them on as a nation.
I don't think we've picked the right sport there. I mean, I don't know. When it comes to upper body strength, I don't think Bad Boy Running's going to be the world champ at that one.
Yeah, and it wouldn't surprise me if I've got a glass jaw. I've broken my jaw in the past from a donkey punch. So
yes. I don't know.
Not a donkey punch. That's the wrong punch. What's the punch from behind?
A donkey punch.
That is a donkey punch.
Yeah, it's a donkey punch. I mean, a donkey punch is a very specific set of circumstances that lead to a donkey punch.
Okay. Yeah. That's what I thought. Yeah.
What's a donkey punch, David, now that you just looked it up?
Well, it is. I'm sure I've told this story on the podcast before. There's a film called Donkey Punch as well. But it is a sucker punch, but especially delivered during intercourse. So
And that's
yeah,
how you got your broken jaw.
yeah, I mean, Briggsy does choose the name Bruiser for herself as a nickname. So no, this was in Camden, but yeah, we'll move on. We'll move on. Well, there's a good bit of bad stuff for the listeners.
So what we talked about, life insurance. Life insurance, pitch fests. What about 3 minutes of running? Perfect. This is, if your first episode, there's probably more running that we've talked about normally.
I'll throw some other things in there quickly then. So Bruno sent me quite a few things that are quite entertaining. I love the fact that he's number one at the moment and we can't discuss it in the tune, the hits. But one of the things he sent was someone got run over during cross country, and here we go. I'll send you the image that he sent. Apparently it's going around WhatsApp. A poor girl fell over, and the trouble is with cross country that when you fall over, especially in something like the nationals, you just can't stop the people behind you, because I've fallen over before in cross country, and it's a scary thing to do, because often there's funnels where you're getting people absolutely sprinting down who have no choice of where they go.
Yeah.
You're stuck in who's in front, behind, left and right at that speed. So if you go down, that is just coming over you. So I've sent you the picture of this poor lady who fell down.
What body part is that?
I think that's an arm, but there's big gashes on there.
What was that? From studs or spikes or what?
That would be spikes, because it's 15mm spikes for Parliament Hill, which is, when it gets muddy, you need them as well, because it's so slippery. But I just thought it was quite strange that Heathsides did incredibly this year. The women came third, I think, nationally, which is insane, because we've always thought of ourselves as kind of North London's friendliest running club, full of kind of old men. But it's changed somewhat. But it just seems strange that we've got the nationals and the teams of 4 people, and typically if we were doing like our local league, the Met League, teams would be 12 people and we'd have 3 teams in there for men and for women. So we're going from 36 runners down to 4. And I get that you want to have competitive teams where even if 1 or 2 people can't make it, you can still get a good team out. But I just think they should be having bigger teams as well, because surely to have in reality a race where 90% of the people aren't competing for their team just seems really sad for nationals.
And why have they done that? Why is it reduced down to 4?
I think they've done it because it's very hard. Actually, I don't know why they've done it. The impact of it means that you get some very good teams, because if you're someone like Morpeth in Newcastle, or if you're older shots, I think Winchester Women's is good as well. You'll get these concentrations of very good runners who will go there for a specific coach, and you'll get these clubs that are more elite focused. And so turning out 4 runners who are really good is possible, but turning out 6 where probably 1 or 2 will be injured, can't make it, becomes trickier. And the more you have to turn out, the good thing is for 4, it means that they can put out really good runners, but also for the smaller clubs or for clubs that are further away, they can still get a team together and they can still count, which I've got no problems with. I think that's great if you're a small club and you can only get 5 runners, that you can all still be in the team prize. But I just think they should have more team prizes for 12 and even 20, because that is so much more exciting to have the bigger clubs racing against each other and having the 20th person counting in the nationals. Whereas at the moment, you either you're in a small club and there's a huge amount of pressure for you to go, or if you're in a bigger club, you have to be so good, and the chances are in the bigger clubs, you're unlikely to be one of the very top clubs anyway, because by the nature of it, other than maybe Highgate and at times Serpentine, the bigger clubs are less elitist, and they don't have those smaller groups of just really focused training squads who are there just to be a springboard to like national team. And so I just find it strange that they don't have that, which could easily be done. It would cost them a trophy and a few medals, which is nothing, but in terms of engagement and goodwill, all those things, it's got to be worth it. And maybe they're doing it because it would take too long to get all the teams in, but still, it's not that many minutes extra. So that is my plea to England athletics, UK athletics. Next year, can't we just have more team competitions and involve more people? What do we think, people? I was going to put it in the group because there are quite a few cross-country runners from Bad Boy Running, but there's not that many. So that's going to be my next poll.
I'll put it. I think that might be one for the running club. I think there's quite a few in there, isn't there?
But then I can't see anyone disagreeing with it though. That's the thing. And actually, often with these situations, it's not the fact that not everyone wants them. It's just the fact that EA or UKA don't listen, or people haven't actually asked it in the right way.
I've got a question for you, related to Heathside.
Yes.
What happened around the petition? So do you want to give a little kind of summary of exactly what that was?
Yeah, I'll see if I can find the exact details. So Seifu is a refugee runner who, through the running charity, he's from Ethiopia, currently a country at war. He came to the UK, and I don't know the full details of that, but I've been told it was a pretty tough journey to get here, as you'd imagine for someone, I think it was 17, 16 at the time. He joined the running charity, was then paired with Heathside because he's so bloody quick. And since then, he's the person, he's at every track session, he's at every race he can. He's the person who the coaches and everyone is screaming at him, do not race on Sunday. You've just raced this race on Saturday. But he just wants to be running everywhere. And he has since, he's now a mentor at the running charity himself. So he's there to help homeless people and refugees integrate into communities and to rehabilitate themselves through the power of running and the health benefits and the mental health benefits of that. So he was facing deportation, and there was a petition, and often were you skeptical about it?
I'm skeptical at any petitions, especially when it comes to things related to the Home Office, just because, again, it's one of those things where procedure rules everything. So yeah, I'm skeptical about anything related to being able to change that kind of thing. So, and were you when you suggested it?
I was pretty skeptical, just because, unless you get, if you look at Iran, even where we have the teacher who's still locked up after 7 years or so, and the amount of political pressure there's been and the amount of media coverage, and still we won't negotiate with Iran to have them freed properly. I was skeptical because I just didn't think we'd be able to create enough noise, and it's always a political football, isn't it? But yeah, it's been successful. The enough people signed the petition, it was raised to enough people, and so it's not actually in the news. They've not reported the good news, unfortunately. I was trying to look through it through Google News. But it looks as if Seifu can stay, which is just incredible.
That's amazing.
There's very few things, we always try and make an impact, and there's very few things where everyone has played their small part in helping him stay. And actually, it's not just the fact that it's great for him. it's the fact that he's going to help all these other people in the running charity, and the impact he's going to have on society in London is going to be huge for years to come. So thanks everyone, like genuinely thanks from Seifu, and also from all the people, the future people he's going to help. So yeah,
Stuff
I forgot.
works.
How did I?
Stuff
How
works.
did I
Well, because
miss
it was
that?
going on for
As an
such a
update.
while, and I think it kind of. I think you were about
Was
to.
maybe away when.
I think you were about to go away or something, so you had a lot of stuff, and I literally just picked it out of something on Facebook someone posted, and I thought, oh, that's the same person, and I thought I had it as a note to bring up with you, because we hadn't explored it. Because if you'd have listened to any of the episodes, the last sort of Christmas onwards, there would have been a note from you at the start of it, asking people to sign the petition. Yeah. And so I mean, go on.
I don't want to claim it's all because of
I know I was about to do that. That's exactly what I was going to say. I was thinking, would that just be insensitive to suggest that the bad boy running swung it? But yeah, let's have that one.
So congratulations to Heathside for coming third in the Nationals and for being able to engage, and the running charity. I mean, the running charity, wow. What a charity. Go and listen to Alex's episode if you haven't. We speak to Alex Eagle about the running charity, and we spoke to the producer director of the Skid Row Marathon, another amazing documentary on Netflix. Any other episodes you'd recommend? We haven't mentioned the A to Z of Do Baddery, the A to Z of Bad Boy Running. If you've not listened to those yet and you want to get a sense of some of the lexicon, some of the stupidity, some of the best of stories, go and listen to those episodes. There's about 10 hours of them.
There is. I think we need to do an additional one, because I think there's been a lot of new language since then. There's probably a lot of language that we've stopped using as well. I can't remember the last time we talked about a peeping Mo.
That is true. Yeah, he's gone quiet, isn't he?
He has gone quiet, actually, considering.
I think he's been sponsored by every brand now, and he's run out of people to sponsor him. I've got an update from Richard McDowell that I know I need to talk about, and I need to respond to him about. That is a really good one. I'm going to update everyone on that next time. If there's any guests you'd like us to interview, then message me, david@badboyrun.com. And if you want to ask questions, then follow us on Instagram. I'm a bit behind because I don't know at the moment when I've got internet, where I have internet, where I'm working, where I'm living. And so I've got a backlog of people to thank, but do message me about those, because we'll go out and we'll get them for you.
And if you want to join the conversation, head over to Facebook, type in Bad Boy Running Podcast, answer 3 questions, and you're in. We've also got merch available at store.badboyrunning.com. And I was going to say, probably don't want to buy the evil Soviet gymnast stuff at the moment. Very inappropriate.
Yeah, although it's more appropriate.
Well, I mean, it's accurate now. That's the thing, isn't it? It's accurate. That's the thing we've had. That's just so typical, isn't it? I mean, so typical that our best-selling item is something that's now inappropriate to bloody wear. Of all the things.
First, we had the Jimmy Savile hoodies.
The Jimmy Savile, and who knew that those wouldn't work in the end?
Yeah. Then we had the film director. Anyway.
The Roman Polanski socks.
The Roman Polanski socks. Indeed.
And then the Rolf Harris bobble hats. Yeah. We got really unlucky with all of that stuff.
We did. What is it with historical old powerful men that goes awry? Anyway, thanks for listening, guys. And if you could please review us, that'd be lovely. I can't be bothered to talk about more reviews now. But thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
See you later.